Hello friends, welcome in Rajoriya classes. Today we are going to discuss the topic the making of nationalism in Europe. Before proceeding, please subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notification of latest videos. Let's start. In the mid 19th century Europe, there were no nation states as we know them today. If we look at the map of mid 18th century Europe, we find that there were no nation states as we know them today. Modern day Germany, Italy, and Switzerland were divided into kingdoms, duchies, and cantons. The duchies were the territories ruled by a duke or duchess, and cantons was a subdivision of territory for the purpose of administration, much like modern day districts. Rulers of these divisions had their own autonomous territories. Eastern and Central Europe were under autocratic monarchies, and diverse people lived within the territories. They have no sense of collective identity or a common culture. There were different language speaking groups and different ethnic groups in this region. Ethnic groups means such a community or population who share a common culture background. Look at this Habsburg Empire map. It ruled over Austria-Hungary. This empire was a patchwork of many different regions and peoples. It included different language speaking regions like German speaking in green color, Italian speaking in yellow color, Polish speaking in light gray color, Magyar speaking in light pink color, and a variety of dialects speaking regions. Hence, it was difficult to promote a sense of political unity. So, there is a question that how did nationalism and the idea of the nation state emerge in Europe? So, there are four causes and process of emergence of nation states in Europe. First, the aristocracy and the new middle class. Aristocracy, socially and politically, it was a dominant class of the continent, and this class was landed aristocracy. The members of this class were united by a common way of life that cut across regional divisions. They owned estates in the countryside and also townhouses. They spoke French for purpose of diplomacy and in high society. Their families were often connected with ties of marriage. However, numerically, this powerful aristocracy was a small group. The majority of the population was made up of the peasantry. To the west, the bulk of the land was farmed by tenants and small owners, while in Eastern and Central Europe, the pattern of landholding was characterized by vast estates which were cultivated by serfs. In this time, the western and part of Central Europe, industrial production and trade grew. This growth led to the growth of towns where new commercial classes emerged. The existence of this new class was based on production for the market. New social groups came into existence. There were two social groups, the working class population and a middle class. This middle class was composed of industrialists, businessmen, and professionals. It was this class which shaped the idea of national unity. In Central and Eastern Europe, these groups were smaller in number till late 19th century. It was among the educated, liberal, middle classes that ideas of national unity following the abolition of aristocracy privileges gained popularity. Now, the second cause is idea of liberal nationalism. Europe were closely allied to the ideology of liberalism. Now the question is, what did liberal nationalism stand for? So first of all, look at the origin of the word liberalism. The term liberalism derives from the Latin root liber, which means free. For the new middle classes, liberalism stands for freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. Politically, it emphasized the concept of government by consent. Since the French Revolution, liberalism had stood for the end of autocracy and clerical privilege. Further, it meant the need of a constitution and a representative government through parliament. 19th century liberals also stressed the inviolability of private property. Yet, universal suffrage was a dream in France. During the earlier period of revolution, only property owning men had the right to vote. It means in revolutionary France, the right to vote and to get elected was granted exclusively to property owning men. Men without property and all women were excluded from political rights. Only for a brief period during the Jacobins, all adult males enjoy suffrage. However, Napoleonic Code reverted to the earlier system of limited suffrage. During the rule of Napoleon, women were accorded the status of minor, subject to authority of father and husband. Throughout the 19th and early 20th century, women and non-propertied men organized opposition movements demanding equal political rights. So it was political sphere of liberalism. Now liberali- liberalization in economic sphere. In the economic sphere, liberalism stood for the freedom of markets and the abolition of state imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. During the 19th century, this was a strong demand of the emerging middle class. For example, in German speaking regions, Napoleon's administrative measures had created out of countless small principalities a confederation of 39 states. Each of these possessed its own currency and weights and measures. A merchant traveling in 1833 from Hamburg to Nuremberg to sell his goods would have had to pass through 11 custom barriers and pay a customs duty of about 5% at each one of them. Duties were often levied according to the weight or measurement of the goods. You know, each region had its own system of weights and measures. This involved time consuming calculation. So, such conditions were not at all business friendly and served as obstacle to economic activities. The new commercial class was demanding a unified economic territory so that there could be unhindered movement of goods, people, and capital. At the initiative of Persia, a custom union, Zollverein, was formed in 1834, and most of the German states joined it. This union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. Development of a railway network further enhanced mobility. This created some sort of economic nationalism which helped in strengthening the national sentiments which were growing at that time. Third cause is a new conservatism after 1815. As we know, Napoleon was defeated in 1815 by the combined power of Britain, Russia, Persia, and Austria. After the defeat of Napoleon, European governments wanted to follow conservatism. Now, the question is, what is conservatism? The conservatives believed that established traditional institutions of state and society should be preserved. They believed in preserving the monarchy, the church, social hierarchies, property, and the family. However, most conservatives did not propose a return to the society of pre revolutionary days. Rather, most of them wanted to retain the modernization which Napoleon carried out in the spheres of administration. The conservatives believed that modernization would strengthen traditional institutions. It was believed that a modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism and serfdom could strengthen the monarchies of Europe. After the defeat of Napoleon, the representatives of the European powers, that is, Britain, Russia, Persia, and Austria, met at Vienna in 1815 to draw up a settlement of Europe. The Congress was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna of 1815 with the object of undoing most of the changes that had come in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. Now the question is, what were the steps taken according to the Treaty of Vienna? First step, the Bourbon dynasty was restored to power. Bourbon dynasty, which had been deposed during the French Revolution, it was restored to power again. Second step was taken. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France. Why? These states were set up to prevent French expansion in future. For example, the Kingdom of the Netherlands was set up in the north. Genoa was added to Piedmont in the south. Persia got some important territories on its western frontiers, and Austria got control of northern Italy. Third step, German Confederation of 39 states, which had been set up by Napoleon, was left untouched. Fourth step, in the east, Russia was given part of Poland, while Persia was given a portion of Saxony. You can see in this map, Poland is a part of Russian Empire, Saxony is a part of Persia, Netherlands is set up on northern part of France. The conservative regimes which were set up in 1815 were autocratic. They were intolerant of criticism and dissents. Most of them imposed censorship laws to control the contents in newspaper, books, plays, and songs. The memory of the French Revolution nonetheless continued to inspire liberals. One of the major issues taken up by the liberal nationalists who criticized the new conservative order was freedom of the press. The fourth cause of emergence of nationalism in Europe is the revolutionaries. After the event of 1815, the fear of repression drove many liberal nationalists underground. Secret societies emerged in many European states to train revolutionaries and spread their ideas. Most of these revolutionaries saw the creation of nation states as a necessary part of this struggle for freedom. One such individual was Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini. He was born in 1807 in Genoa. He became a member of the secret society of the Carbonari. When he was 24 years old, he was sent into exile in 1831 for attempting a revolution in Liguria. After that, he founded two more underground societies, first Young Italy in Marseille and then Young Europe in Bern. Mazzini believed that God had intended nations to be the natural units of mankind. So Italy had to be forged into a single unified republic instead of being a patchwork of small state kingdoms. This unification alone could be the basis of Italian liberty. Following his model, secret societies were set up in Germany, France, Switzerland, Poland. Mazzini's relentless opposition to monarchy and his vision of democratic republic frightened the conservatives. Metternich described him as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. So, friends, that's all in this topic. If you have any suggestion, leave it in the comment box. We will meet in next topic, the age of revolutions.